lesson planning, it can seem daunting at first, but it gets easier with practice. Guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be participating in the To Be a Teacher tag. This was created by Brandon from Senor S's Spanish Spot. And he came up with this idea of getting all of us teacher tubers together to create a video on what it takes to be a teacher, what teachers do from day to day, how to become a teacher. For people who are interested in the profession, are either trying to get into a teaching program, are doing student teaching, or are curious about what teachers do. So there's a lot of us that are participating in this tag, and I'm gonna link them all down in the description below. So if you want to check out all of us, we all have different aspects that we're going to be going over on what it takes to be a teacher. So what I am going to be focusing on in this video is lesson planning. So lesson planning is really important for teachers to have in place. So keeping that in mind here, we're going to be going over different aspects of lesson planning. So I'm going to try and keep this a little short because I know there's a lot of our videos to watch. So after you watch mine, make sure that you go and check out everybody else's videos too, so that you can get the full idea of everyday aspects of teaching. All right, so let's go ahead and jump right in here. So the first thing you want to keep in mind when you first start planning, how do you want to plan your lessons? So you can do this in a lot of different variety of ways. I kind of do a little bit of everything. So the first thing you're going to want to focus on here is, what do you need to teach? So you're going to want to look at your standard of teaching here. It varies from state to state if you're in the US, and I'm not sure about other countries, but I'm certain you probably have some sort of standard in place that you have to focus on and have that as your body or your curriculum body here. So for me, I teach social studies, so I focus mostly on the North Carolina standards for teaching, and they break that down for each category, so world history, American history, and civics. It's different for every subject too, so for English, you could use Common Core, for math as well, and it can vary depending on what grade level you are teaching, so the first thing you're going to want to do is look that up so that you know what you need to teach. So it's easy to search on Google, just search your state and your subject and teaching essential standards. So once you have that, you have the bare bones of what you're going to be teaching, right? So from there, you need to find out what mode you're going to use. So are you going to be digital? So there's a lot of digital tools out there to help you plan. What my school uses is planbookedu.com. They pay for that subscription for all of us to use, and it's very, very similar to planbook.com. So what I would suggest is just looking at some of these different digital sources. You could even use Google to do this, like create just a spreadsheet in Google for a template for your lessons. I've seen some people do that, and there's a lot of good tutorials on that on YouTube too. One thing I used personally during my internship before I got a job was Common Curriculum, and it's a really good planning website for teachers. You can drag and drop all the different categories, so you can make it very personalized to you, and it's also really colorful, so it stands out so that each section has its own color, and you can just kind of move it around. So it's very interactive. You can link in documents and videos and all that stuff, so having a digital plan book is probably the wisest choice. So having a plan book online is probably the wisest choice to choose for today's day and age, because technology is used all the time. I show a lot of videos, and I have PowerPoints and documents that I can just upload, and then I have it there for me to access later on. So I think that's the easiest way to plan, honestly. But there are people that still use the good old planner, the plan book planner. So I bought a Happy Planner when it was on sale here, and I like using the planner here for mapping out my week. So for example, so here is my overview of November. I kind of just map out in my planner different dates. What I've actually been doing lately, I made these monthly planner sheets. And I made these on Keynote, very easy. And if you are interested in them, I have them in my store if you want to check them out. But honestly, any planner that, like monthly planner, like there are a lot of free templates online. I just made this one because I want it to be customized for me. So I just write all of my like meetings, any days off, any days I need to like have an assessment, for example, or project due dates for my classes. I put them all on this, and then I tape it on the wall near my desk, and then I can just kind of look up on Monday and I can be like, okay, that's all I got to do this week. So I don't know. I like the planner here as well, but I don't know. Like I said, I have a lot of different ways that I plan, but it's really just me trying to find out what works for me. But I like this because it's on the wall and I can see it at all times. But I also like this planner here because, like, if you go to the weekly section, you have these different lines here, and I kind of roughly map out my plans in here. I kind of use this more for personal reasons, honestly, than planning lessons. But really, just find out what mode of planning works for you. Are you digital, or are you going to be paper planner? Okay, now you have your mode of planning, so now you can start planning. So first suggestion here is do not recreate the wheel if at all possible. I mean, especially in your first year of teaching, don't focus on trying to make all your lessons perfect. Borrow stuff from different teachers. Teachers have been teaching this content for a long time, so there's lots of stuff out there. So that's what I focused on my first year, was just borrowing anything I could from teachers that have been teaching for a long time. That includes Teachers Pay Teachers, obviously. I look on Pinterest a lot for different ideas. Google, I don't know. For example, I'm teaching World War I right now, so World War I U.S. involvement lesson plan. Everything will pop up right there. PDFs full of detailed lesson plans. Now, when I was in college and we had to do those really, really detailed lesson plans where we talked about Bloom's taxonomy, about all the different standards involved, exactly the minute by minute what students would be doing. That's good, I mean, when you're first starting, but honestly now I just kind of do bullet points and make notes to myself about what we're going to do, because I don't know, I categorize my lessons in my mind. It's like kind of like a planner in my mind. I don't know. That's what I do. So like I use Post-it notes a lot when I'm planning, and I just write down kind of what I need for the day in the material section. So that's another thing I would suggest. Keep that material section, because I don't know, if you need whiteboards and they're not out, that's just taking time away from your lesson here. Hopefully I'm not being too jumpy here, so I hope this is kind of making sense to you. And if not, just leave me a comment down below and I can answer that. Or if you have any suggestions, leave those in the comments. But basically what I start out doing, I use the digital Planbook EDU to map out my entire semester. So I teach world history this semester, and what I do is I pick the topic objective for the day. For example, this week I'm doing World War I, so on Thursday we started it and we had our causes of World War I. On Friday we did new technology in World War I. On Monday we'll do Russian Revolution. On Tuesday we'll do U.S. involvement. So like I just kind of map out the category for each day first, and then I do that for the entire year, because then I know like how much room I have for each unit, so that I don't end up cutting it short at the end of the year, because I don't want to like have to rush in my last unit. And after that, I usually plan week by week. So on Saturday or Sundays, I will go into my plan book and make sure, at least for Monday, that I have everything I need prepped and ready. From there, what goes into a lesson plan? What do you need to focus on for each lesson? What I do, I am a high school teacher, so I teach in 90-minute blocks, so an hour and a half blocks. But this is the same for any class, really. So if you're elementary school, you can still use this concept, but just in a different way. What my intern teacher really focused on when I was her student teacher was chunking lessons. For example, when they first walk in, I always have a warm-up. And that warm-up they do for the first 5 minutes of class. And then for 5 minutes after that, we do a review together with it. So that's their first 10 minutes every day. They always know what they need to do. So I would suggest coming up with some sort of morning agenda that they do every day that they know, so that when you are going to be getting ready for your lessons, you can have that time while they're working to take attendance, to get your material set up, to make sure everyone is situated, all that jazz. Next up here, it can go a lot of different ways, but you're always going to want some sort of hook, like a catcher at the beginning of your lesson, and that can be in a lot of different forms. So it can be a question you ask them that's intriguing. It can be an image you use or a map you can use to have them kind of think about what we're going to be discussing. You could even do a video to introduce a lesson, like a short video clip. You can do a graphic organizer, like a KWL chart or a circle map. And I've even used Think, Pair, Shares to introduce some lessons. And it doesn't have to be the same thing every single time, obviously, that will get too dull. But spend about even 1 minute to 5 minutes on a short intro to your lesson. The next thing I would do here would be to do some direct instructions. This is just what I do. You can move these all around here. But I do my warm-up first, then we do the hook, and then after that we have our We have our direct instruction. So this would either be me lecturing, or we have a whole group discussion about something. After that, we would have our independent group studies. So either they would do an independent study session here with an activity, or we would do a whole group activity, or maybe even a project at this point. And then that's probably going to be the longest chunk. I usually try and give activities. It could be one long activity. It can be several very small activities here. So take 5 minutes for each section. So it varies, but always have that idea of chunking. Don't spend more than 30 minutes on a given activity in class. Unless, there are certain... there are times, like, for example, if you're doing a film study, then that's going to be engaging probably. If you're doing some station activities, that's still chunking, even though it's the same activity for the whole class period. They're doing different things, so that's still good. And you're always going to want to have a closure activity because, again, it's going to be easier for you to close your lesson with a good exit ticket, with a video, with maybe a review game even, if you have time. If you don't, then you're going to have students who are going to check out of class, 5 minutes before class ends. They're going to pack up, they're going to be standing by the door, and that's a wasted use of time. So I always show CNN 10 at the end of my classes. And that's one thing that I've been trying to get better at, is being consistent, because sometimes I stop a little bit too late to watch CNN 10. So even if your kids are still working on a lesson, don't be afraid to say, okay, we're going to stop this now and we'll continue it tomorrow, and then finish up with your closing, because it's always good to have that consistency in your classes so that students know what to expect. Okay, so that's an overview of what I do when I am planning, and I'll show you guys my plan book here really quickly, just so you can see what I do when I plan. And honestly, it's not very detailed, so if you take a look here, let's see. And I'm not gonna do anything fancy, but this is my plan book. This is Planbook EDU, and you can see at the very top I've put up my different topics. So this is last week. So we ended with nationalism and imperialism, and then we started World War I after that. And you can see I don't put in my warm-up or my closure activity because it's the same thing every day. So I just feel like it's redundant to add it in every day. So I don't do that because I know what we're doing. But this is just for me, and I put it on my website for parents to look at too, so that they know what we're doing and for students to know what we're doing. So for example, we had a map quiz for my honor students on the Middle Eastern countries, and I do a map quiz every week so they know always what to expect. And you can see these links here. So for example, this new tech, it will bring me to a YouTube video. All right, so this is just a series that I found to help students kind of understand the new technology of World War I, and it's easy for me to access. So I just pull up my plan book at the beginning of the period and I click on these links to open them up so that when we're doing the discussion together, they're all ready to go. Really, it depends on you and what you feel comfortable with when you are planning. So at the end of the semester or at the end of the year, what I typically do is I look back at my plan book online and I see exactly what things went well with my lessons and what went bad. And I actually use this planner here really more for revising my lessons. So I don't know, kind of reflect more in this planner than what I would do on my online planner, because the online planner is more of like my bullet point list, and my writing planner is my reflection planner. So when you finish with the lesson, not every single lesson that you're going to do is going to be the greatest lesson of all time. That's something that I've had to kind of think about, because when I first started teaching, I wanted everything to be interactive and fun and perfect and great. You know, everybody wants the best lesson ever, but there are going to be days where your lesson is not the best. It didn't work out that well, or maybe students were confused and your directions weren't good enough. So what I do and what you should do after a lesson has happened, especially if you're a new teacher, revising and reflecting is important to do after every lesson, and continue to do that every day as you're a teacher. Even if you are teaching for 10 years, it's always important to reflect on your teaching. So think about, maybe write down in a chart what went well, what went bad, or not so well. Why did it go not how you planned? What was it that was not working? Were you just not organized? Did you not have the materials in place? Did you not have a good enough PowerPoint for all the different instructions listed? Did students just really not get what you were saying and you weren't doing it were you not modeling enough for students, for example? So, one more thing before I close this video. If you were going to be assessing students with like tests or quizzes, you would probably do more in middle and high school, I found this website that one of my professors showed me in college when I was going through my program here. It's called Problem Attic, and it is a great website for every subject, every grade level, where it links test questions to the standards of your state, which is really awesome. So I'll link that down below if you're interested, because when you are planning, you want to keep in mind the assessments that you're giving, because you want to make sure that you are going through the content that will be on that assessment and reviewing it. So thank you, Brendan, for collaborating with all of us teachers here in making this tag. And again, all the videos are linked down below, so go ahead and check their videos out as well. And thank you guys for watching. Have a great afternoon, evening, morning, etc. Bye.